will consider 28 bills and will begin with consideration of 6 partisan bills that advance out of our Energy Subcommittee, 1 pipeline safety reauthorization bill, and 5 bills that would undermine energy efficiency standards. It's unfortunate that the Republican majority is moving forward on a partisan pipeline safety bill that has very little to do with safety and everything to do with gutting environmental reviews to build more pipelines. Ensuring the safety of our nation's pipelines has long been a bipartisan cause, but Republicans have refused to work with us to make this a bipartisan bill. And by moving forward with a partisan bill, the Republican majority has told us all we need to know, that they are not interested in passing durable legislation that can make it to the President's desk. Meanwhile, the House Transportation Committee has moved a bipartisan pipeline safety bill that could be the basis for legislation that passes the Senate and is signed by the President. I'm also disappointed that we're considering 5 anti-energy efficiency bills that would raise costs for American families. These bills are designed to obstruct the Department of Energy's appliance efficiency program. This is yet another unfortunate handout to industry at the expense of everyday Americans who would be stuck with higher utility bills if these were signed into law. But thankfully for the American people, these bills stand no chance of being signed into law. And next, we're going to consider H.R. 7650, which advanced out of our Environment Subcommittee. This legislation undermines the backbone of the Clean Air Act. It also allows corporate industry profits to override science in setting air quality standards, provides amnesty to new polluting facilities at the expense of existing manufacturing, and removes incentives to cut pollution. And this bill would guarantee that people living in areas with poor air quality would continue to breathe unhealthy air for generations to come. And Democrats are simply not going to support this or allow this to happen. We'll then consider 17 bills that advanced out of the Health Subcommittee, which collectively are intended to reaffirm this committee's commitment to strengthening our nation's public health infrastructure, improving quality of care for patients, and supporting our healthcare workforce. And I'm especially pleased that we'll be considering H.R. 6829, the HEARTS Act, which I introduced last year. This bill was inspired by 2 New Jersey families who each tragically lost a child to sudden cardiac arrest during high school sporting events. Sadly, more than 2,000 children and adolescents die this way every year. And my goal in introducing this bill is to help prevent future deaths at cardiac arrest by preparing schools to respond to cardiac emergencies when they occur. The HEARTS Act will raise awareness about the causes of sudden cardiac arrest and ensure schools are more prepared to deal with cardiac emergencies in order to help save lives. Now, while I support the vast majority of the bills from the Health Subcommittee under consideration today, there is one bill I can't support. I continue to have significant concerns with H.R. 5074. I believe it would impede seniors' access to necessary medication and raise their health care costs by further delaying the inclusion of oral-only drugs to treat end-stage renal disease into Medicare Part B. These drugs are crucial for over 60% of patients on dialysis who rely on them for necessary care. And right now, about 20% of Medicare patients on dialysis do not have Part D coverage. Congress has delayed inclusion of these drugs into the ESRD bundle for a decade now at the expense of some seniors without access to prescription drug coverage. And I don't agree with supporters of this legislation who argue that the system is not ready for the transition. I think it's time for the delays to stop and for Congress to ensure patients can access the treatments and care they need. Finally, we'll consider 4 bills that advance out of the Communications and Tech Committee or Subcommittee with unanimous bipartisan support. Taken together, these bills will help protect American networks from security threats while also allowing our country to remain a global leader in communications technology. And I'm pleased that we're considering legislation in particular led by Subcommittee Ranking Member Matsui, H.R. 1513, the Future Networks Act. This bill will establish a task force at the FCC to study 6th generation or 6G technologies and identify potential supply chain and cybersecurity vulnerabilities. As the next generation of tech is developed, this legislation will help us understand the potential risks to best protect our networks and strengthen the technology's design. And with that, Madam Chair, I yield back the balance of my time.